You have parking vouchers?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Problem. All right.
And Roscoe has demonstrated no.
He's fine. He's fine.
They have some drawers.
Oh, yeah, no, we have people coming in. Good for EFF Austin?
Yep.
We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, let people trickle in, and also I'm giving our speaker a few minutes to finish her slides, so we'll be getting started in just a second.
So just that part of life.
And it could be so much worse. I have to do it from home for appropriate compensation, so I do not. But it can be very tired and we're ready to go to bed.
Yeah. Tell me, I was in here at night, no, I never stay for the drink part because.
Yeah. Well, I might actually go briefly do something else before I go home because my friend Rich McKinnon is in town, so I may meet up with him. He's apparently taking a train ride across the country and he's in his Austin stop leg right now.
If you're looking for EFF, you're in the right place.
Awesome, thanks.
We'll get started in a few minutes.
So are you meeting him at the station?
No, he's already got in last night. I would most likely meet him for a drink somewhere if he is still out and not getting ready to leave tomorrow. Knowing Rich, he will probably be partying somewhere over in the 4th Street district of Rich. Probably at some place in Rain or or something. He was full-time national. He sold his mansion at Hyde Park.
Why did you decide?
I think he just was ready for a change. Plus, he's running a number of small businesses up there. This one, a long time ago, like 4 years ago.
I guess he stopped there.
Rich is rich as shit and travels the world constantly.
Okay, because I've seen him several times.
I'd say the man's worth at least $10 million. He internationally travels all the time. He has in the past. He's been very generous with donations over the years.
Okay, it's time for that.
Well, he can't single-handedly bankroll, but he can at most be a generous donor. Yeah, donations from somebody like him would never for a small event, but not for a major one. Good for you, Austin. Hey everyone here and online, we're going to get started in just a few more minutes. Going to give a few minutes for a few more people to trickle in and just let our speaker make some final preparations and then we'll be getting going. So feel free to chat amongst yourselves, hang tight. We'll be getting started soon. started? Because Liani needs to finish her slides. Okay. Do so.
I was in my, I guess I could fake it and say that I was being frazzled.
You could have told me that.
I could have, but then I wouldn't be waiting for 10 minutes for it.
Oh, you know, I was like, perfection doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't agree.
As I said, I like when this is cast three board members of the meetup is the here too. I was like, when we can get board members out, because it's proof that no, this isn't just like a club for me. We actually have other board members.
Yeah, no, I'm really trying my.
Yeah, the job that you were pitching me on, I would have been happy for any job at the time, but definitely I was reading between the lines as this is intense.
Well, I think especially with some roles, they didn't follow me.
I mean, frankly, the current meeting, we had the one meeting with, we could use the PM, because currently things are incredibly ad hoc. It's mostly just, what does Kevin know the boss wants done next? Let's do that, and then do my own code cleanup when I'm not able to do something, basically. Which, it's fine when you're as small as I am. There's definitely times where I just like the Jira board is not running sprints. It's a glorified scratch pad, so we don't forget stuff, basically.
Right. It's kind of similar back on into condoms. Already now, requests like, when can I expect this thing? I didn't know about it. It's like, okay.
So if everybody's cool with it, I'm not necessarily going to I try to do my job.
Until that thing happens.
Right. Well, yes, of course, when ultimately people are like, yes, I realize it's your fault, but also we still want to get this done, then you have to get a bit of even your stakeholders are waiting on it. I was thinking this yesterday. We have a few external vendors who, the turnaround time on, I wanted to test the latest API implementation, and I literally, the latest iteration of the at this point. Because like the guy who tested is out and they won't assign anyone else to it. So yeah. We're gonna get started in just a few minutes. I would probably start doing my spiel in just a second here. Just so we can use some stuff. Let's see. Okay.
Are you from Indiana?
Yes.
You are? That's, we can talk quicker.
Hey everyone, gonna go ahead and at least get started with my normal spiel and announcements. Our speaker needs a few more minutes to put the finishing touches on her slides, but I normally have my normal spiel anyway, so I will go ahead and give that, and then if we think, if we're good at the end of that, we'll go ahead and get started. Otherwise, we may need to wait another few minutes, but I'll go ahead and get the spiel out of the way. So, welcome everyone to the latest monthly installment of the EFF Austin Meetup. Wonderful turnout. I see many faces who are regulars and many new faces as well. Welcome all. My name is Kevin Welch. I am the current president of the board at EFF Austin. We also have a couple of our other board members here with us tonight. Ann and David, they're nice. Say hi if you want to chat more about EFF Austin. So for those of you who are new and like, what's EFF Austin? Like maybe you saw it on the Cap Factory website, maybe you're here because Open Austin talked about Liani be speaking here, or any other means you might have wandered in. Maybe you saw EFF boost us on Mastodon or Blue Sky or Twitter or something. But anyway, EFF Austin We are an Austin-based digital civil liberties organization. We've been around over 30 years at this point. We work closely with Electronic Frontier Foundation out of San Francisco. They're the nation's oldest and largest digital civil liberties advocacy organization. You can kind of think of them as the ACLU for the internet. They sort of work to protect your rights in emerging technological spaces, especially your First Amendment right to free expression and your implicit Fourth Amendment right to privacy. They work on things like net neutrality, end-to-end encryption, protecting Section 230 of the CDA, and just a whole range of issues designed to let you freely and safely express yourself in technological spaces. They're really awesome people. You should definitely give them money. They mostly do work at the federal level. We primarily do advocacy at the city and state level. We are actually the oldest member of an organization EFF runs called the EFA, you see my shirt, the Electronic Frontier Alliance, which is a group of about 100 organizations all across the country who, none of us are formally legally affiliated with each other. This is not some sort of chapters-based organization. It almost was, which actually gets into EFF Austin's founding. You can ask me about that later if you're curious about the history. But none of us are formally legally affiliated with each other, but we all care and advocate on similar issues. Most EFA groups have a fewer resources than EFF, so most of them advocate on particular issues at the city and state level. We've been around, as I said, for over 30 years. I haven't been around that long. We've been around. Currently, we're primarily an educational organization. We mainly do that in the form of these meetups here at Capitol Factory at the second Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. And we're always looking for speakers. If you or somebody you know would like to talk or give a topic on digital civil liberties, or it can even be broader than that. Anything that you think is interesting relating to emerging digital culture, digital technology, especially people doing things outside the mainstream that are interesting, that try to promote human empowerment and flourishing. And in October, we're going to have our board member David be talking to us about data cooperatives. So if you've ever wondered what the hell that is, you've seen it in some random thread and like, I don't know much about that, come out and learn exactly what a data cooperative is. We do that. We also tend to do a bit of city and state level advocacy work, as I said. We were very involved in the debates around automated license plate readers here in Austin. We were not able to get the city to ban them, which would have been our preference, but we did get much stronger data retention rules around them than would have been originally. We got it down all the way down to just 7 days when they wanted it much longer, and lost a vote by 1 vote to get it down to 3 minutes. Still one of the biggest regrets of my life. But we'll try again sometime. We've also been involved at both the city and state level in giving advice on emerging AI regulation. In fact, our fellow EFA member, Open Austin, who Liani, our speaker this month, is their current head of the board, we've been working with Open Austin on AI regulation at the city level and consulting with city stakeholders and trying to shift that in a positive direction. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we've been working on currently. We've also been known to throw occasional cool cyberpunk parties if eccentric millionaires in town throw money at us. So if you know any, feel free to introduce me, because I can't throw them if I don't have the money. Let's see. I think that is most of what we have going on currently. As I said, you're welcome to speak to me or one of the other board members afterwards if you'd like to chat more. We usually go and get a drink in the lobby when our talk is concluded, so we can all have a bit of socialization. Also, if anybody parked in the garage, I do have parking vouchers if you'd like to get one from me. And let's see. I think that is most of what I have to currently go over. Liani, are we almost ready there? Or? You ready? Okay. In that case, I will go fetch tech support, and we will get you going here. I will be right back, everyone, and then I will introduce Liani, and we will get going.
Haslan, you just used this station last time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just hope.
They have to turn
Well, recognize.
And I guess while we're waiting on getting that set up, does anybody have any announcements or news they'd like to share? Shameless self-promotion's totally cool. If you just think something going on in town might be of interest to this community and you'd like to let everybody know about it, it could be a cool event going on, an educational thing, a figure in this space is in town, a political action you think people might want to know about or take. It's all fair game. So if anybody, yes.
I'm going to take some photos, mostly for Open Austin, Liani, and I'll share them with you. But if you don't feel comfortable, let me know.
Does anybody have privacy concerns about a photo? Obviously, we care about privacy a great deal here. I'm just not seeing anybody saying no, so I think we're good.
And secondary, that's just coming up. Okay, thank you.
I can sit in a corner with
Oh,
my face.
I'll just you. You're good.
And I guess, full disclosure, we do, for accessibility and archival purposes, Cat Factory does live stream this, but you're only going to be caught in that if you're like at the front most of the room. Though
I'm not concerned about my privacy, I'm worried about you associating with me.
Well, you've already associated with me, so it may be too late. Right. Well, Liani, we're hooked up? All right, in that
The
case.
first thing that we're going to do is actually take the back road and move up front.
I do have an announcement.
Aslan, announcement,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Next week, Open Austin Community Practice for Design is going to be meeting.
pull it up.
7:30. Oh, am I getting ahead? Are you going to share that too?
No, do it.
Well, make your announcement and then she can just remind people again.
Yeah. So we're going to be meeting next Wednesday at Cherrywood Coffee, talking about design system operations. So if you're interested in that, there's me shooting a Tesla gun. So that's
Well, I don't know, but
the closest thing
anybody
I've
shooting a
ever
Tesla
done.
gun looks pretty cool. I'd go to that. Yeah. So,
Megan has her hand up.
yes, Megan.
An old friend of mine, Ron Bronson, he lives in Portland, Oregon.
Yep.
He's organizing a two-day conference for technologists working in the public interest who practice and support design. And it's very much like you get there and whoever comes designs the conference. So it should be pretty cool.
We very much like self-creating stuff. So, yeah, that sounds cool. People who think that's interesting should check that out. Any final announcements? And you're good to go, Liani?
I'm good to go.
Okay, in that case, I will just introduce you quick, and then we can go ahead and get going here. So, for our speaker this month is Liani Lye. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Liani Lye. She, her. Liani is the first elected executive director of Open Austin, the second of two grassroots civic tech organizations in Austin. The first is EFF Austin. In her previous life, she was a product manager for Healthcare.gov and VA.gov, and an engineer for global health medical devices. Hey, I work in medical tech too now. Big space. So anyway, as you might have heard, Open Austin is now the second member of the EFA in Austin. They joined per my encouragement. I'm very happy they are now here with us because for the longest time, not only were we the only EFA group in Austin, which is not that unusual, only a few cities like the Bay Area or New York really have more than one, but what was unusual is that we were the long time the only EFA group in all of Texas, even though there's about 100 EFA groups in America. So we had a lot of ground to cover. So I'm very happy to be joined by Open Austin, who we've actually been friends with them through past EDs going back over 10 years at this point. But yeah, so with their joining the EFA, I thought it might be a good time to have Liani come back, remind our constituents and others about Open Austin and their work. So anyway, Liani's going to give us a little talk about how Open Austin's bridging the gap between high-tech and public good organizations and examining what it means to give back and how we can do that in a collaborative and not prescriptive way. Oh, and for those of you who may be aware of history, Open Austin was actually previously associated with the Code for America Brigade Network, which Liani may talk about more as well. But yes, without further ado, take it away, Liani.
Thank you. We don't talk about Code for America.
We're going to say that word.
Though, out of curiosity, who has heard of Code for America? Okay, maybe we will talk about it. Like EFF Austin being the only EFA member in Texas, Open Austin is the only formerly known Code for America brigade that is in Texas. So in 2023, January, February, Code for America was like, no more brigades. We're not going to support our volunteer network anymore. We're going to go all in into contracts. Forget you all. And so Since then, the brigades or the chapters in Dallas and Houston, College Station, San Antonio, they have just withered, and Open Austin has remained. We had nothing to do with their withering, it will be clear. So that's a bit of history, and that's why I noted in the blurb that Kevin read out, we used to be called, but we are no longer affiliated, because they actually approached all of the 88 brigades across, or chapters across the nation, and said, don't use code 4, we're going to chase after you legally if you associate with us. So being very
I
clear
will
about
just add a sidebar to say that's not cool, because
it's,
to get into our history, EFF was actually originally going to be a chapters org. EFF Austin was the first chapter. EFF eventually decided they were not going to do that. We were the only chapter that existed. They did not tell us that we had to stop using our name or associate with them.
Yeah. So that aside, that's why I don't like talking about Code for America anymore, but I did because a few of us, enough critical mass, had heard of it. So we are Open Austin, and actually, can you all look around the rooms? Any Open Austinites, can you raise your hands? There's Megan in the back in the blue. There's Vic, or Megan, she, her. Vic, they, them, with the camera. Aslan with the glasses and the snazzy shirt, and then Josh raised his hand for a second but put it down because it's been a bit. He's been going to multiple dance conferences lately. So all of us, plus these 19 other photos on screen, comprise of Open Austin. That's 1 full-time staff, that's me, 12 product team members, and I'll go into what the products are. So 6 and 6, designers, product managers, devs, community managers, 3 of them, 2 policy advocates. So community managers, Aslan is one of them, Vic is the other, and then Paul, who in real life has a face. He's this pink icon here, is the 3rd. And then Megan is working on the AI resolution, AI pushback that Kevin had mentioned. And finally, we have 2 civic tech fellows that are not here, but they are pictured, and I'll talk about our civic tech fellowship as well. Okay. Open Austin, we address disparity with technology and in technology. So what does that mean? Because that was just language that you put on a grant and you hope nobody ever sees. We serve Austinites. With technology, we build data and digital services for orgs, community orgs. For example, Texas Fair Defense Project. For example, YWCA, they do mental health, not gyms. And offices, we work the Department of Public, what do they call themselves? Austin Transportation Departments, we worked with them 2 or 3 years ago as well. So that's what digital and data services means. How do you if you, as an agency or as an org, I want to make better service delivery decisions so that I can serve my constituency better. But in order to do that, I need better data. So Open Austin fills that gap. We also do policy advocacy, the second bubble, which is for the public. As Kevin had, I'll go into that, what that means specifically, the AI resolution, and then fellowships for tech newbies. People who are just coming out of school or transitioning careers or otherwise are interested and have a very basic knowledge of Tableau exists. It's not a thing I've used, but I know it exists. For loops exist. I know what that means, but I haven't actually applied that in any rigorous way. These are fellowships that we are just starting and just piloting. Right now, we are in week 2 out of 8. And then affinity groups for Open Austinites. So that's to improve your craft, to become a better designer. You can join this group. So that's for or with technology, supporting, and in technology, in which we think that if we're building tech for the public good, then our workforce should also represent the constituency of the nation. Okay, I'll go through each of the bubbles. And I should have said this up front. I don't have 45 minutes of content in me. I never have 45 minutes of content in me, so I will go through these bubbles, and then at the end, I actually I'm hoping to have more of a discussion. I have 3 questions. We might do a little table rearranging because this like teacher-student dynamic is a bit weird to me. I am not seeing faces right now, but just lay out expectations, friends. Okay, digital and data services. One of our projects, we work, or rather products, Aslan's rebranding them into product teams. We're working with Fair Defense to visualize the state of public defense representation. And I'll actually scroll through what the team has built in 2022. Can I automate? No. They showed the difference between public defense and privately retained defense. And with our data, the legal advocacy group called...
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at what you said. I saw it in the highlight, and that's absolutely true. So,
yes.
Sorry.
Yes. This is something that we anecdotally know, that if you are... Kevin, can I curse in this?
So what?
Can I curse? Is it okay?
I mean, we're a free speech.
Okay,
So I guess I'll just
great.
say
I don't know if you have like a
rules or leave the
reputation.
room.
Okay.
I mean, no,
So we-
no targeting a group, but if you just want to say
We are 501c3 and we do not attack partisan politics, even though there's a debate happening right now. Yes, understood. Okay. So, okay, in plain language, Texas Fair Defense, there is statewide legal advocacy group that they know over their 20-25 years of experience that if you are poor, black or brown, you are going to have shittier representation because you can't afford a privately retained lawyer. You can't pay for a private lawyer. However, if you can pay for a private lawyer, you'll probably experience better outcomes, which is less criminalization, less fees, less negative outcomes that will essentially derail your life. Okay, all that said, the team put together this website that will eventually become an interactive, and where's my interaction? Try it out yourself, perfect. Like we know anecdotally and experientially that there is a huge disparity, but what does that mean in terms of numbers? So the team scraped the very archaic court record system and put together this visualization where you can, I'm just randomly clicking here because I am not a legal person. 0%. Oh. All right. This probably means something to legal folks. This does not mean anything for me. But the end of what I'm trying to say is this checkmark. With our data, but also our data bolstering years of what Fair Defense has done, they're able to successfully lobby for a public defender's office in Hays County to act as a monitoring and evaluation for just random public defenders hanging out in Hays County. Like, do your job. So that's the impact. That is the daily, behind-the-scenes impact that the team made over the past 2 years. Another project that we are doing right now is with the Austin Public Library. Actually, I'm doing this bad thing of looking at my screen. There's no good way of positioning myself. Austin Public Library, their room reservations system. I'll not pull that up because it's kind of a painful experience. If you have ever tried to book a study room, okay, you're nodding, David's who's tried to book a study room? Why? No, like I'm curious, sorry the tone of voice. Like,
Board meetings
Board
and
meetings.
Educational seminars.
Okay, and then with the lovely green shirt,
I mean, just to study.
just to study, okay. David, co-working,
We added that one.
okay. So study room, it turns out study rooms are only at Central Branch, and there are meeting rooms which nonprofits can book, so I don't, board meetings, gatherings, event spaces if you want to pay. But the reservation process is jank, very official word, jank for the end user, the patron, as well as the code base is jank, like there's no, it's just a mess of content management and Drupal, PHP all together in one. And so the team is collaborating with staffers at Central Branch to iterate on that and now I'll show the Figma, which means nothing because they're just tiny white squares. But Jerry had put together a improved flow with improved content, giving information to patrons. Like, don't just tell them all the policies up front, like kind of stagger the information. The team consists of one product person, 2 designers and 3 developers. 3, maybe 4 developers, TBD. And so what the team has done, this is a project that is in flight. Indigent Stats is also in flight, but that has more years under it. This one started in January. Project board, check. Smooth stakeholder communication, we're just on Microsoft Teams, check. And actually this Sunday, the team is meeting at we booked the library room to, it's very ironic, every time we book, we're like, this shit again.
So you're personally motivated to replace the tool with something
Well,
better.
no, actually what happens is they say, Liani, book it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll book it. You get good at the things you practice, even if you don't want to be practicing them. So we're building out the MVP, and after we finish they finish the MVP, they're going to be working with staffers on how to make that production ready. Impact number 2, public policy advocacy. So Open Austin, EFF Austin, and a coalition of tech for public good orgs are calling on the city to govern how AI, this slide. Basically, in February, the city was like, we're going to integrate AI into our work. And we're like, what does that mean? That's very vague.
Could mean
Tell us
anything.
more. Yes, could mean anything. And over the course of the past 6 months,
Yes, it's already been 6
it
months.
has been 6 months. EFF Austin, Open Austin, Measure, if y'all have ever heard of Measure. Have y'all heard of Measure? Okay. They're a data org. They're a data org that focuses on BIPOC communities. Have basically said, well, what does this mean? And here are the 4 points that we want encoded in city ordinance, because departments are not all created equal. Execution is not all equal. So the 4 points being: ensure fairness to all residents across all city operations. 2, consider long-term economic effects now, because impressions and day-to-day work will change. 3, train models responsibly, not on private information. So if this is why we're asking the city, what does this mean? They don't know. In a rush, they'll just take all and train. And then 4, be accountable to everyone equally, which has to do with, I'm always loose on point 4. Is this the copyright one, Kevin?
I
don't know.
One pager.
But
No, it's a work in progress.
it's a work in progress. And over the past 6 months, we've been doing 2 things. One is building coalition with public community orgs like Measure, like Encode Justice, and then also understanding who in the city is a decision maker. Everyone's like pointing at each other. It's not fun to get in these meetings. Kevin is in those meetings. I am not. I don't have the stomach for it.
In these meetings.
And right now, the team.
To answer number 4, we're basically asking for the creation of an AI ethics commission to make sure there is human accountability over these processes.
That was terrible that I forgot. That was
I didn't remember till you asked me to look.
What we're doing now, or rather what Megan in the back is doing now with David also in the back, is they are creating a toolkit to approach council members and approach community orgs to say, hey, you should care. This is important. How can we explain what AI is and the ramifications in plain language? That's the second impact. The third impact, this is the fellowship slide, pathways to break into tech. I had mentioned that the mission of Open Austin is to address disparity in technology, with technology and in technology being change how the tech industry looks if we are truly to be serving the public. And so we are providing experiences and opportunities, professional experiences and opportunities for people who are transitioning careers or got out of a boot camp or from a marginalized population to be able to get that experience to be competitive candidates. They don't have to be applying to a civic tech org, but I think that all success for one person is success for their community. And so let's try to bolster that. And so in our civic technology fellowship, provide mentorship, technical competency, okay, you can read. This is in flight, and what I mean by in flight is, have any of you applied for grants before? Raise your hand if you've, Megan, of course you've applied.
I'm close to people who
Josh,
have a
you
lot of
grinned.
experience with it, even if I've not done a ton of it.
Who has applied for grants? Okay.
You know, if our
One
board member
lone
Heather
person.
was here, she could tell you all about applying for grants.
So basically you have to be perfect in your application, which is hard to do with no money, and you kind of need the money for the grants. But anyway, we're piloting and we're doing what I hate, which is doing more with less. I hate that. I think you should have fair compensation for fair labor. And so what we are doing with 2 of our students is we're really making sure that the pilot is longer. They have so many references on their LinkedIn, and what else? I think references, certifications, and then we're feeding them like all the jobs. All of us are just crowdsourcing here, all of our jobs, all of the jobs to point them in the right direction. More important thing as well, or concurrently, is exposure to Austin civics, because something that I realized in the feedback for our most recent grant application was how disconnected the different civic tech orgs in Austin are, or GovTech, or public interest tech, etc. Kevin and I know each other, but we don't really interact with anybody outside of each other, I would say.
I mean, we are the main liaisons between our 2 groups, so
Yes.
with like the AI project, there's some cross-pollination.
Yes. The Tech Commission did not meet quorum last month, so
Which we were informed is a shockingly common state of affairs, so
Yes.
whatever your opinions on the efficiency of government, well, yeah, they don't make quorum very often, apparently.
they're we are very fragmented. The civic tech ecosystem is very fragmented. The public interest ecosystem is very fragmented. So exposure to Austin civics means being able to say, yes, I'm working as an Open Austin partner, but also here is my connection to, like, my project is benefiting, and I don't, do I have what Michaela did? It's a terrible picture. It's not supposed to look like this. She had a bug, but not supposed to be all blue.
I just assumed you're doing some, graph transformations, PhD thesis.
But Michaela, for example, her thesis is, if we build bike infrastructure, people will fill to use it. Instead of, we need to show demand and then we'll build bike infrastructure.
Well,
So
there's demand for bikes.
So we're connecting her with, or we will soon be connecting her with, a few urbanist organizations in Austin, Cap Metro, the Bike Commission, I think they're called, some transportation departments, so that she can understand how to, she's fixed this bug, after this bug, understand how to iterate on her visualization so that it can actually impact policy. And so that is within the bounds of, we're hoping, 8 weeks. We'll see how far we get. She's a pilot partner. That's the Civic Tech Fellowship. And then, yes, sir.
Question about the Hayes indigent defense data.
Yeah, what's up?
When are you going to go live, and is the data anonymized by the attorney?
When we're going to go live, and is the data anonymized? Did I hear that properly?
Yeah,
Two
yes.
different questions.
Yes.
Okay, so this website is up. You can go to indigent defense. Can I zoom in? Indigent
Defense.
Yes. At the very end, I will show this QR code, which has the link to the website.
It's a .NET site, and I can confirm it pulls up nice and fast.
Good. And is the data anonymized? The data is anonymized for this visualization, but if you go to the court's record system, and I don't know if I have it on no, I cleared my browser history. Odyssey. I don't know how to spell Odyssey, that's one thing, one problem. Too much information is there. So you have a person's full name, all of their middle names. If they have 5 middle names, all 5 are on there. Their height, their weight, everything is there. Their address.
Just freely available.
Just
on the
freely
OpenAI
available.
Well, dang, now we need to
On
have a talk
Odyssey.
about how many civic APIs are leaking citizens.
Well, so there are no APIs. The team actually had to scrape
Oh, it's actual web page.
Yeah, it's actual web
Delightful.
page scraping. So a bit of backstory behind that. The group that creates these instances, these courts record systems, is called, now I feel bad, but they're called Tyler Technologies, and they are not actually motivated to make an API because 2 reasons. First, charging for access, and also the courts themselves are not putting pressure on Tyler Technologies because they earn commission fees? They earn fees every time you request a court records on paper. So you go to the office, you're like, hello, can I get case number 5,000, whatever, a random number, and then someone prints it out for you, and it's $1 a page. And it is in state law that says that's how the courts earn money. So they're not incentivized to change that, to open up data, anonymized or not.
Right.
Wow. Interesting business model they got going for themselves there.
I'm sure it's maybe $3 a page for other counties, I don't know. Does that address your question?
Yeah, just the question behind the anonymization is that an attorney, if shamed, is more likely to do a better job or shy away from taking appointments.
And it's,
So-
say that again.
In other words, if you suck in public, well,
Yeah.
then you may be motivated not to suck in public anymore.
Mm.
The reason it works is because the only people that are going to see you not do work for your client are your client, the judge who doesn't care because he or she wants the case off the docket, the prosecution who wants your client in prison because prison cures addiction. We all know that, right? And then everybody else in there who's about to get their ass handed to them for an unfair deal because the cops are dirty, they cheat, they're stupid. I mean, I had one on the stand, he wasn't wearing a uniform, and my first question was, why are you in a suit? He said, I got fired. Why did you get fired? Applying on a timesheet twice. Just twice? Well, I think 3 times. So then I look over and the case gets dismissed.
Wow.
We didn't even get to the substance of it. Well, no, not always. It's like 1%. It's an outlier.
Yeah. Are you an attorney?
Yeah.
Ah.
I did stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night.
He was at our talk about legal stuff around AI last month, actually.
But Hayes County is the worst, and I've got my investigators working on a project in other counties that will go in where they straight up throw the public into court. They tell you that if you don't get an attorney, you won't have to pay it back. And so just sign this piece of paper for the joint they found on you and go down your way.
Yeah.
So they're just smaller counties. And Tyler Tech is totally enabling this. They've got 7,000 employees, and their automated email system sucks. I don't get all the notifications for
Well,
filings.
dang, we're going to have you do a talk on Tyler Tech, I think, at some point in the future here.
Right, well, as soon as I finish litigation, it's...
Oh, yes, when you don't have a conflict.
I know it was a little awkward when we had a Tyler Technologies employee work as part of Open Austin, and we're like, maybe not this project. And he was like, I don't care. I don't know what he's right now.
Well, just because you work for evil doesn't mean you are.
Yeah.
I've known many incredible people who have worked for Google and other things. The current head of Signal used to work for Google. You know?
Right. Yeah, but it seems like it would be, I've just asked, does it seem like it would be a good idea if you want to improve the quality to kind of shine some light on this? And some of it kind of happens here in Travis County, not as much with CAPDS and the Public Defender's Office. It does more in the juvenile system. We can talk about that later. Because it has to be so secret because they're juveniles. I got a case dismissed because the jury room was filled with boxes of old files, and they said we can't bring in a jury because we don't have anyone to move the boxes out. Because no one had tried a jury case out. Anyway, that's nothing anecdotes continue, I'm sorry.
He was full of this many anecdotes last month, too. I love it.
And they're all relevant.
They are relevant.
And they are all
They were occasionally exaggerated.
Okay. Yes. What is your name?
George?
George.
Yes.
With a J or a G?
With a G.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. I'm Liani.
Nice.
The person speaking. Sorry, in case you missed that. Okay, and our fourth impact is communities of practice. And I see Vic holding their hands because this is a project that Vic and Aslan are shepherding. So community of practice, who here has heard of communities of practice before? Okay, I'll start from the beginning. Communities of practice are affinity groups that tie folks together across different projects. So, that's not zoomed in. One sec. No one told me that it hadn't been zoomed in this entire time. That's better. Okay. So we have our individual projects, which are the blue, the red, the gray box, the green, but there are designers in all projects, there are developers in all projects, and so as a way to create a sustainable system within our organization, how might we build an organization that fosters mentorship across projects, that fosters collaboration and learning across projects, and that's what these communities of practice are. Okay, and then here is, that's actually all of what I have to say. So what I should have done is create a slide in between, and we will pretend that there is text here. But before I move on to questions to you, do you all have questions for me about what Open Austin is about, what all 19 of us are doing on any given day?
Yeah, has anybody got some questions for Liani based on what we've heard so far?
What's up, Josh?
Absolutely. So, as supposing a hypothetical scenario where someone might be back on the job market and looking to polish up some skills, is there anything that's good to jump into right now that's going on with like the affinity group, communities of practice, or how does that fit with this sort of like 8-week
Yes.
schedule you mentioned?
So the 8-week schedule I think does not apply to you, Josh, because I'm guessing because you are not a newbie. I don't think you are new in the field. So
He at least seems quite knowledgeable about tech on social media, so.
Open Austin has bi-weekly org introductions, which you can find on Meetup. They are kind of like what I went through, but then the second half is actual joining steps, how to get involved. What is your first step? For a data person, I would say it is still, because the two projects are full right now, I can ask the indigent courts person, the indigent courts leader, but he messaged me last week and he was like, I'm at capacity, so we'll see. The main thing right now is communities of practice, and what Aslan is working on, I'm going to try, and then Aslan, you can fill in the blanks. Aslan is working on making the work that we do that is hidden in DMs and channels and littered throughout Slack and Google Docs, etc., into one central hub that is transparent and visible on GitHub. And so he is working out the processes of the user journey of a newcomer to contributing, be that contributing on a project or contributing to the community of practice. He is working on what is a good starter project. I'm working on his many flavors here. What is a good starter project or a good test labs project if indigent court stats or APL are closed? He's working on what is, and finally, buy-in from the entire org, saying like, one, I guess, saying you have to use this, but probably in a nicer way.
Yeah,
Is that
I mean,
accurate?
I would say I'm coming from the community of practice for design perspective, so I can't speak for people who are doing like data or developer stuff, but with design stuff, we're trying to get a regular cadence going for building an actual community. I think after COVID, we had a lot of sort of dispersal within the design community in Austin in general, but also with in Open Austin. And like Liani mentioned, trying to put together some kind of starter projects to help mentor early career designers and help get people like more kind of plugged in. My experience is that I joined Open Austin in like 2014, 2015, and it helped me get a career in tech started. And so trying to help people who are, you know, interested in civic tech. I promise I won't beg us to do a hackathon anytime soon, but that used to be the big thing that, you know, we did to help bring people in. I think, yeah. Point is that we're going to be trying to do some small projects to get people started. So, yeah.
And Liani, Aslan, remind everyone, when are you having the first meeting about that?
I
There's
closed the
there's one coming up,
camera.
isn't there?
Yes, yeah, next week. We were having, not our first meeting, but it's like our second, I think.
Second.
Yes, I believe that's not this tomorrow, but next Wednesday.
Yes,
Correct.
Yeah, next Wednesday. So, and that's going to be about design system operations. So.
Yeah, and Cherrywood Coffee House is a very chill place to hang. So anybody's free should go check that out. And I guess I will just jump on that to say that yes, I think just like you were alluding to, I think EFF Austin also experienced community diffusion due to COVID and whatnot. So that's part of why I've been intentionally booking cross-pollination with groups like Open Austin or the International Association of Privacy Professionals here in Austin, so that all of us who care about these issues can see who's currently in the community and we can remember and get stuff done. I'll also just say in my experience over the years, both for myself personally and others, EFF Austin is also a great place to maybe find out about work in this space if you hear about this sort of stuff. So networking, fun, like-minded people, we're happy you're here.
Yeah, I just wanted to share similar to Aslan. Open Austin is how I got my first job in tech too. My background's in design, but it was with a data science company, and it's just showing up on Slack and meeting people. And the job wasn't even posted. I just became friends with somebody, and they were like, hey. And that even the work I'm doing now has been from referrals and people seeing the work I've done in Open Austin.
Did you have your hand up or were you scratching your ear?
Before we go to Liani's structured questions, discussions, do we have any other questions?
But I did want, yes, and then I did want to address Josh particularly,
Okay.
or Josh's hypothetical person, which
I mean, we
that's...
can also talk later if it's. You know,
Yeah, but Aslan had mentioned communities of practice. I mean, I might as well. Community practice, but he's focused on design. Let's just look at all my conversations. That's Megan. I was getting pictures. We actually have these 4 channels for designers, which is a happening channel. But also, I created these channels for developers, product managers, and data folk, which are all empty. So, data, empty. The product managers, empty. And so, what we have identified is a blocker is that visibility aspect. So, working with Aslan, Aslan, I'm sorry, maybe you don't want to work with anybody. Maybe you're like, Josh, you smell, I don't want to work with you.
No, maybe it wants to.
Yeah, working on that visibility and
it's just
process.
messing around with GitHub. You know, like we're trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some existing infrastructure on GitHub from pre-pandemic, and we might be reviving some of that. There was, I think, a shift away from GitHub because we were trying to work with nonprofits, and a lot of them are not super tech savvy. So saying, hey, before you submit an idea to us about something you want to work with us on, like first get a GitHub account. They don't know what that is. But we're trying to also bring out stuff from the Slack so that you don't just have like all this stuff buried in, as Liani said, DMs and that kind of stuff. So you can go to GitHub right now, go to the Practice Designers GitHub repo, and post ideas for future community practice meetings. And we're trying to like sort of semi-automate, or not obviously the you can't completely automate an onboarding process, but we're trying to make it so that there's like a very clear sort of throughput for how people can get plugged in, so people don't just like show up to a meetup and then like drop off the face of the earth. We want to like have people like register, like, hey, I'm open to help a project, and like, you know, have a little thing for making our profile, and just kind of like, these are my skill sets, and if like, you know, maybe 2 or 3 months from now, a project opens up or something like that, you know, they can say, okay, how many people do we already have in the organization who have this skill set, instead of, like I said, people just kind of, you know, disappearing into the ether. So.
Let's see if I can pull up the user flow that we're just looking at my shit. The user flow that I sketched out with you, Aslan. Goodness. Yeah, we did a goal setting exercise with our fellows earlier. Board, preferences, mouse. Trackpad. Bye, Brian.
Hey, sir.
Okay. But yeah, Brian and I know each other socially. I feel able to do this. Okay, but essentially, as a prospective joiner to Open Austin, these are the steps that I would follow in this new and improved life.
Yeah, if I was on a troll, I would just say, well, you can deal with the GitHub onboarding issue by just make a GitHub action to onboard them to GitHub.
Yeah. If only we were that simple.
But the need to succinctly put it, and we should talk after, is what are good starter projects for people, or good test lab projects for data people,
Which
for
would definitely be
developers.
interested in any suggestions, because that's like an especially hard problem to design.
Yeah.
Because, like, a good 50% of design in my experience is actually not doing a lot of design work. It's a lot of stakeholder management and research and talking with users and a bunch of stuff that, I mean, like the Hack for LA, which is sort of like a sibling organization of ours, is like, they have like a huge bunch of starter projects for data people, which is like, makes sense, right? You can just like throw a data set and be like, go make a visualization of this, or find some pattern here. But design, we're having some trouble. And if you have the kind of like organization that is looking for designers to engage in, it's like a civic organization, like you might be able to fund people or try to like get people on this stuff. So.
Thank you, Aslan. Other questions before I move on to questions for you all?
Speaking of your AI project with the city, how do you train AI responsibly?
This is back.
Well, that's a fun question, because in a perfect world, the city would train it responsibly, by that they would have in-house technical experts who would actually make their own model created from consensual data that is relevant to the problems they're trying to solve. But I'm here to tell you that the city does not have a chief AI officer and has very few staff who understand this. Therefore, they are stuck with commercial models, which unfortunately, as you know, have all the issues with, ultimately that's going to be controlled by OpenAI/Microsoft or Google or Meta or whatever. So yes, it is a thorny problem, and at the heart of what we are hoping to get the city to understand is, if you're not going to have this in-house, what need to be the guardrails around making sure data is not getting into this thing that should not get into it, basically.
And so if you're further interested in that, it's Kevin and Megan in the blue. They're working on that initiative. And then George with a G, you had your hand up.
Yeah, how many hours and at what cost did it take to develop the initiative.net?
How many hours total?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Not looking for exact
How many
numbers.
human hours
Right.
collectively, I believe.
Yeah. And what is the cost? You said you took
Right, but the product's great, but I'm just curious what kind of
The
effort went
cost.
behind it. And
Sure.
my follow-up question is
Mhm.
scaling it.
What was that?
Yeah, my follow-up question would be on scaling it.
Okay.
The other 253 counties.
Yeah, the other 253 counties. So
Each of which needs a custom web scraper.
it's true. It's true. I don't know what Aaron Sanchez did. He did something, and I saw like a celebration post of other counties. I don't know what he did. We can look now. what he did. I'm curious. Vision. What? Okay. Aaron, he submitted a PR. He parsed out case outcomes. Lesson. Okay. Well, you can read. I don't know what this means.
So basically, the piece of the web page just says he would case outcome. He wrote a scraper parser for that section.
Yes. And then Jason, what did Jason do? Counties. Amazing.
I saw
Okay.
Caldwell and Hayes in there.
Yeah. But the individual tickets, or the individual work that goes into scaling to other counties, I have no idea. I think what I understand is that even data integrity within Hayes County, like the R1 starter county, is kind of hit and miss because they're scraping and then the folks are dumping the info into a CSV and the website is pulling from that CSV. Are we confident in our CSV? I get mixed responses based on the time of day. So.
Well, CSV as a standard doesn't have any validation built into the standard itself.
Yeah,
so it entirely depends on the consistency of the person generating the CSV data.
Yes. And as far as human hours that have gone in, I don't have an answer for you, but I will say that this site, we had expedited development on it because of a grant from Microsoft to be able to say, hey, we're gonna give stipends to developers. That was a rare case, and right now, so in the frenzy of grant deliverables and building this and making tickets, the tracking of hours fell by the wayside, which is why I don't have an answer to give you. But I will estimate that the grant performance period was 6 months. I know they met once a week for 3 hours each. I don't know how much of that was like slinging code or et cetera, but that would be the minimum. So 3 times with 4 people on the team, so 12 person hours a week times how many weeks in 6 months?
26.
26, so whatever 12 times 26 is.
I mean, it's about 300.
Okay.
300 human hours.
Okay, 300 human hours. Probably plus a little bit, probably 400.
Right.
And I will say that after 2022, which is why we don't pursue grants for individual projects anymore, is there's a lot, you have to be perfect up front. And there's a lot of grant deliverables, and the team was so burned out that now, the team now is not the team from 2022. It's like a complete turnover of team members.
I wouldn't know anything about boards turning over. and also I would imagine, just from my own cursory observation, that grants it's not just you gotta be perfect, it's just grants are harder to come by period recently because due to high interest rates, the free money of the 2010s has dried up. Purse strings are much tighter in general on these sort of things.
Does that address your questions as well as maybe stuff you were thinking about?
It was. I'm gonna give you my card, I gotta split soon, because I do have some other ideas along the same line that you could use whatever model you had here to do other things.
Okay.
Awesome. So that's why we have the meetups. People meet each other.
Indeed.
Thank you, Dr.
Well,
Najee.
thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Hope we'll see you next month.
All right, anybody else?
Any more questions for Liani before we move into the structure? Yes.
So Open Austin, EFF Austin, International Association of Privacy Professionals, what other groups are in this kind of digital civic activism kind of space?
Well, if you're talking about, if you don't want me to confine myself to Austin or Texas, if you're talking about just the EFA and the country in general.
I'm talking about Austin specifically.
Oh, Austin specifically?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, I used to know of a few more groups, but frankly, COVID, I don't know how many of them are still active. I can tell you a local nonprofit who does work, at least in our space that we care about, is a group called the Operator Foundation. They take government grants and they basically create bespoke communication software, usually for journalists in countries, regimes that are hostile to good reporting, essentially, places like Mexico, etc. They build them bespoke encrypted communication software. So they've funded some of our events in the past. They have a board with 4 people on it, last I checked. Dr. Brandon Wiley runs that, he's a cool guy. I'm trying to think about, I mean, they're more at the state level, but there is ACLU of Texas, obviously. Yeah, and I mean, there are other activist groups in town, I can tell you. There's like Austin Justice Coalition, Grassroots Leadership, etc. They overlap with us sometimes when it comes to issues like surveillance and criminal justice reform and whatnot, but that's not their primary bread and butter. I would actually say, as far as keeping it purely to Austin, probably us and Open Austin are the 2 main people I'm aware of.
One sec, I think Catherine has something.
Yeah.
Did you have the print?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, I enjoyed the talk. I like to sit on them. I wake up early, so.
Oh, well, there will be next month. Get some sleep.
Good night.
Yeah, there were, I mean, I've come across, well, sorry, another one. I wouldn't exactly say they're civic-minded, but they're certainly cut one of our slices. There used to be a group called AHA, or Austin Hackers Anonymous. I don't know what their current status is. There was ATX 2600, which the famous 2600 hacker magazine, they had a chapter. They were also, I think, associated with the Longhorn Lockpicking Club. There's a lot of overlap between hackers and lockpicking. But I mean, there's certainly conferences that happen here pretty regularly, like B-Sides Austin and stuff, that often attract a lot of the community.
But just like in terms of the AI policies and things like that, activism around that, this is the space to be.
I would say we're the 2 main local groups, because some of the other groups we're partnering with, they have chapters in Texas, but we're the 2 ones who are like really centered and focused here, if those are the efforts you want to get involved in. But yeah, as far as anybody who wants to know more about this in general, especially if they have friends who are moving somewhere else, they're like, is there an EFA group where I live? The answer is probably yes, especially if you live in the Bay Area or New York or LA. The most prominent ones are probably STOP, Cypher Collective, Oakland Privacy, there's a few, Lucy Parsons Project, there's a few others.
Specifically, okay, so I heard 2 different things. There was AI groups, and there is apparently an Austin AI Alliance. Measure is part of this group.
Okay, Measure's with this one.
Wow.
This would be some good people to know. Yeah. Oh, so actually that is a good one. Good Systems is the UT kind of just ethical technology group. Dr. Sharon Strover runs it.
I'm a postdoc there. Yeah.
Oh, you know Dr.
Yeah,
Strover.
I'm working with Dr. Strover, yeah.
Yeah.
She says hi, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I've worked with Dr. Strover quite a bit. Consider her a friend. Yeah, and Good Systems is awesome. Yeah, anybody doesn't know about Good Systems, they're doing great work at UT.
There's also a AI ethics meetup that just a guy started. It's pretty interesting. You can contribute to the topics that we talk about.
There are other big tech meetup groups in town. Like I know there's the Austin Forum. There's some other ones. They often tend to come at it from less of a community standpoint and more of a industry and CEOs and funders standpoint. So it tends to be less from the speaking for the little guy standpoint. It's more how can we make money from this.
Right, yeah. So when I pulled this up, that's a good point. I don't know from which standpoint they are coming from, or if it's a thing that like it's a cool badge of honor to be a part of. I don't know. As Kevin, you are an advocate as well. Your attention is to be so focused on like 1 or 2 things that everything else can.
Especially when,
Right.
especially when EFF Austin, Open Austin manages to have a full-time employee in Liani. EFF Austin is entirely volunteer-based because finding money to hire someone full-time is a Herculean undertaking for any nonprofit. It is mostly a board of volunteers and a community.
And as far as just civics in general, I unplugged. It's because I was digging through my email, but part of our no, I need to not frame it like that. This was the email that we got that explained what different civics organizations there were in Austin. I disagree with what the reviewer says, but this is what they said. So CivStart
I would think Code for America.
I know, it
There
was,
you go.
we got a low score because they were like, okay. We got a low score. They said, this is great, but you are doing the same thing, if not worse, than what the Code for America Brigade does. And I was like,
We are Code for America.
right, that's not what I said something more strongly in my head, but yes. So it is a learning for next time. Open Austin, comma, formerly
Although
known
I'm
as.
reading this and I'm sitting here going, like they mentioned groups like Atos, SAP, and My Society.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've lived here my whole life. I've never heard of any of
Right.
these groups operating in Austin. Doesn't mean they aren't, but I'm just like, they can't be that prominent.
Right. But when we say that decision makers are hard to find, everyone seems to be pointing fingers at each other, this is an example of that, just like misinformation. Okay. Right. Well, this, if I were more prepared, would have brought a big Post-it, like a big paper with adhesive and individual Post-its and markers. I did not do that. I left that stuff in my apartment, but I'm curious what community impact means to all of y'all, besides coming to these monthly EFF talks. What does taking action mean to you, and what does doing it daily look like? So a bunch of questions. The backdrop behind that is, as Kevin said in the blurb up front where he introduced me, in which I wrote, I said, Open Austin does, I forget, behind the scenes advocacy, or what does it look like to take action daily and bridge high tech and community impact. And so I want to bring that full circle to ask you all what that looks like in your day-to-day lives.
And were you wanting people to try to break
Yes.
into little discussion
Okay.
groups if possible?
Yeah, I'm thinking on the fly. Who, can you raise your hand if you feel like you are taking action daily? Okay, all right. What about medium? Whatever medium means to you. Well, so there's daily, once a year, and medium, which I guess is 2 to 11 months. Medium. What counts as taking action?
Yeah, I mean, it just says, what does community
Well, yeah.
impact and taking action mean to you exactly?
There's this notion that to make an impact on your community, there's run for office, be in office, or donate to someone in office, which is not the only thing. So.
And I'll be the first to tell you, many in our community are very cynical about politics, which I try to fight, but they do still take action in their own ways they believe in, you know.
Like I send emails sometimes.
I mean, I think that counts. I mean, you know, I guess speaking for myself, you know, I guess I could give a seed if that might spur discussion. I mean, obviously, because I do the work with EFF Austin, obviously I think I take more action than most, or at least I try to. But I do try to tell people that it really, I think taking action can, as you said, it can take many different forms. Some people, you know, like to, you know, get out there and engage with their politicians or even run for office. Some people that sounds, you know, either they are cynical about politics or they are not that kind of extrovert, and that sounds like volunteering for hell, you know. So, you know, I think it can manifest in many different ways. It can be as simple as helping people in your community who are not tech savvy be able to navigate a world that is increasingly essential to use tech, but increasingly dangerous to use tech. You know, getting hacked is easy. Getting misled by disinformation, now AI turbocharged, is very easy. So it can just be as simple as educating the people in your life about what digital citizenship looks like and means. It can also be modeling in your own life how you want tech to work, trying to use products and platforms and frameworks that more envision how you think tech should work. Like EFF Austin, we are on Mastodon because we believe in federated social media, and we think that is a better model for social media going forward. So I mean, I think to me, a lot of it is not getting caught up in that if you're not like testifying at a at a Senate committee hearing that you're not doing enough. I would actually argue part of me would argue that, frankly, if you just helped somebody in your apartment building, secure their digital communications or not get taken in by a digital scam, that can or help them navigate a horrible government website. That right there to me is taking action. David, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I think trying to piggyback on most of the stuff you're saying, I think taking action is more like just having a conversation, talking about these problems and issues on a daily basis, Like, it's kind of hard to because everyone, this is a pretty demanding world and system that we live in. And so, talking about these things can be controversial or uncomfortable, but that's kind of how they keep staying a problem. So just trying to find time to mutually have the discussion, maybe at the break room at work or with a parent or with someone, just keeping the subject alive, I think is what ultimately snowballs into the movements that we see, but people discount, the small work because it's not like the sexy expose large protest movements happening. We don't have those large protest movements or those changes in legislation without people just having regular conversations about things.
Yeah, and I would say little conversations happen everywhere, all over the world. A number of years ago when I was in France, in the south of France, we were in a little kind of community coffee shop that was hippie enough it wouldn't have been out of place in Austin. But there was some kind of discussion group going on in French, and I don't speak a lot of French or listen that well, but after we listened for a while, we actually figured out they were essentially kind of a meetup group like us, talking about issues of privacy and surveillance in France, actually. So I think, I think there's little conversations about the impact tech has on people happening every day, and it may not be as showy as a big protest, but I would actually argue it's really actually what starts to change things, because what people collectively are concerned about, society will start addressing. We do see legislation trying to address both governmental and corporate harms of technology precisely because enough people care, basically. And I would also just say protests can take as large or small a form as you want. Like, one of my favorite things EFF Austin ever did is me and our vice president of the board, Alex, this was a long time ago now, like about 7 years ago, at the time, head of the FCC, Ajit Pai, was in town. We're not fans of his, but we did a very nerdy tech silent protest, essentially, where we went to the hotel where he was giving his talk, and we used our phones to set up a Wi-Fi hotspot in the hotel that said, like Ajit Pai, restore net neutrality. So you can get creative with it.
Were you gonna say, or you're
Oh yeah,
gesticulating?
I'll definitely add some things. I also have some different lenses because I'm on the board of a local social dance nonprofit, so like arts community and all this, but I think the operative word in community action is community. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing, but it's also each of us brings a different perspective and different gifts and ways of being in the world that other people don't have. And so that means that we can find, if we look for it, a space for us to do the work that really connects with who we are and flows from that and makes the world better because of us being who we are.
One thing I would say that, I actually think, if you're here and you care about these issues, I actually think one thing that's very uplifting to me about this scene is that I do think, tech is the big issue of our time, and I do think these are human concerns, because in my work doing this for years and years, we've attracted people of very diverse beliefs across the ideological spectrum to our meetups. People who, if you got them on most political topics, they probably don't agree on a lot, and yet they are all in agreement about that they want to keep tech in a place where, the way I always put the idea is, I think we all collectively, we want technology to serve people, not the other way around. And so whether it's a government behaving poorly, a corporation behaving poorly, it's the idea that, we're not Luddites. We like technology, but we think it should be enriching human life, not somebody's profit margin or biased beliefs or whatever, that it actually, well, I mean, I guess now might be a good time, since we are having this discussion, I will actually read EFF Austin's actual mission statement, which is, we advocate establishment and protection of digital rights and defense of the wealth of digital information, innovation, and technology. We promote the right of all citizens to communicate and share information without unreasonable constraint. We also advocate the fundamental right to explore, tinker, create, and innovate along the frontier of emerging technologies. Anybody else with thoughts about what digital civil liberties activism or digital engagement with their community means to them? And it's fine if where nobody else does, we these end when they naturally end. But if anybody, especially anybody who's not spoken yet, who we haven't heard from, we'd love to hear from you what your thoughts about that might be. And by the way, the answer, this is all being kind of feel-goody, by all means, if you're sitting here, well, I don't know if I agree, I'm more cynical, and here's why. Well, we want to hear from you too, so it's not an honest conversation unless we hear all perspectives.
I could say something.
Sure.
My name is Johnny.
Yeah.
I guess I've come at this as like being a technologist of sorts.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Austin. I say that because I feel like it maybe helps with the motivation from that kind of mindset of creating things and technology. And I've not been a part of any of these kinds of groups, but I feel like I can be very valuable in a sense of I just constantly build things. And one of those things is building around like private. I've been a machine learning engineer since like 2016, working very deeply with language models since that time, and writing a lot about AI ethics pieces, and then building out the technologies for each individual person to use their own private like LLMs, AIs running on their local machine, and really intending to create a way that you can have like a ton of personal private data on your own machine, and make personal decisions, like database decisions around your stuff.
An AI agent that works for you, not on the behalf of who.
Yeah. So at some point there's like an element of like talking about it and then having it, and I'm like within a month of like provisioning these tools all in like an open source repo for like I mean, you can see it now and just start using it.
Let's talk after the talk, because maybe we'll have you come talk about the project when it's done. That sounds fascinating. And we're happy you're here.
Yeah, this has been interesting. I came because of the civic stuff. Someone talked about scrapers, and I built like scrapers to scrape the federal government side, California state, Texas state, a lot of different laws, and then running tests to see if any of the new laws pass some kind of like rights standard, and then be able to like kind of do a Boolean check to see if it like should be checked, like investigated even further. And I came specifically for that kind of thing because I thought the civic tech was very interesting kind of stuff. But like the deeper motive, I guess, of what the EFF is doing. It's very interesting. I feel like that I just somehow showed up here.
Well, we're happy you're here, and if I heard Liani correctly, they may need a lot of counties who need to have window screens.
Well, so when you said that the cost to build out those APIs has decreased a lot, and to be able to automate the web scraping process across each of those should not be a lot of work.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I am not the technical lead on that, so let me get your contact. Because I'm not.
But yes, I think, and frankly, that ties into another place. What do I think this sort of activism looks like? Well, a lot of it, why do I do these meetups every month, even though I have to go through the stress of finding speakers and fitting it in between work? It is to create a space where people like you can find like-minded people. So I think find the others as a form of the activism as well.
Yeah, just really about community. Again, it's like, because we can't change culture on our own individually. We have to do it with people. And we can share knowledge and insights and skills, and together be a lot greater than any one of us would be individually.
Especially because a lot of online digital spaces and communities are being built in ways that do not promote community. They promote a profit model, and they do not promote healthy means of human interaction, to put it lightly. But maybe things like the Fediverse will help with that. Did I see something raise their hand back?
No, I was just pointing.
Oh, you're just pointing.
No.
Okay.
Last slide I had.
Yeah.
Last slide I had before we all disperse is.
Although, yeah, disperse could just be come have a drink with us if you don't have
Yes.
to go anywhere.
Is support local civic tech, and Kevin had made a call for donations earlier for EFF Austin. For us, we are also, so here's a, okay,
Oh, yeah,
start from
yeah.
the beginning. Here's a QR code
Yeah, how do
that
they
you all
give you
can
money?
point. What's up?
How do they give you money?
They can give us money by going to this QR code, and it goes to this link tree where you can find our open collective. You can also find more information about the event. This is today. This is, let me turn on my cursor.
Oh, and if you want to give EFF Austin money, just go to EFFaustin.org. Right at the top of the page is a donate for our PayPal. We are working on creating newer, better, fancier ways of having you donate. We have a new treasurer. We're actively working on that stuff. But for now, clicking there is the easiest way to give us money.
So here's information about Aslan's talk, as they said, the 18th, 7:30, Cherrywood Coffee House. The individual projects that I talked about, so the AI policy, room reservation, indigent defense, and then the civic tech fellowships. And if you want to keep in touch of how or keep tabs on what we're doing, there's Slack. Sorry, that sounded really creepy. There's Slack, there's LinkedIn.
If you want to surveil Open Austin.
There's Instagram. So this link tree links to everything.
And anyone can just join the Slack.
Anyone can just join the Slack. Yes. You can join right now if you desire.
Oh, and I guess if we're going over that, EFF Austin, in addition to our website, we are on numerous Zaibatsu Megacorp health sites. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, but we're also on Blue Sky, we're on Mastodon. We're technically on Instagram, although nobody ever posts to that. Yeah, find us.
And so our costs are, the monthly costs, workshops. I consider what Aslan, the talk series, is doing workshops. You have to find a venue, pay for food, etc. Web hosting, paying for Meetup. That shit ain't cheap. Kevin, you probably know yourself.
Yes, I mean, we have ongoing
And then they
web
did a
hosting
price hike,
and meetup
yeah.
costs, no doubt.
Socials, annual, we put on Open Data Day, paying for domain names, insurance if we want to grow. Like contractors or contract holders require us to have insurance. And then stickers and t-shirts, we have that too. So again, you can go to the QR code.
Oh yeah, actually, we have swag too if you want to actually get
And
something
go
for your
to
donation.
openaustin.org. They
If
link
you
to
go
the
to
same place.
Oh, sorry, yeah. If you go to EFFaustin.org, you'll note in the bar at the top there's something called Online Store. If you click that, you'll go to our page on local company Bumper Active, where you can order t-shirts and mugs and stuff, and that helps us. So yeah.
Is it this one? No. This one. Did you know EFF this?
No dash.
I know, I can tell. Okay, here they are. Button there.
Donate and Online Store. Yeah.
Cool. And if you have any other questions about Open Austin, what we're doing, AI policy, there's Megan, also our vision, there's me, communities of practice, that's Vic and Aslan. We are here. That's all that I had. Thank you all.
And so first, let's give Liani a big round of applause. Yeah, as I said, we're going to stick around and get a drink in the lobby. Anybody who can join us is welcome. I also have parking vouchers if you need it. Also, yeah, if you want to learn more about Open Austin or EFF Austin, obviously you got Liani and Aslan and Megan and others here. And for EFF Austin, you got me, you got David, you got Ian, who's also on the board. Come have a drink with us and get to know us. And we hope we'll see you next month for David's talk on data cooperatives.
Who's David? Sorry.
Sorry, what?
He's with the bread loaf.
Yes, David back there. Yes, and David usually copiously researches stuff. So if you want to learn about data cooperatives, I highly recommend you attend. It should be a good time. Hey everyone, we'll see you next month. It can be easy after a year or two there you go. See you over there. Just more like and so it's always exciting. I was up till 2 a.m. last night delivering features because the boss was going to, I think, have aneurysm if they weren't done soon. I got it done. Definitely was nice to have the meeting here.
But how about you? What do you do?
Yeah, it was a weird thing for me because I move it comes off successfully. I stress about it, but I also look forward to it because I get to chat with
How would you know?
I'm at first too, because like I swear every month I'm like, this is the month no one comes.
Have you met anybody else? What's your name, by the way? Top Cup? Yeah. Nice to meet you. I'm Brad. Brad, nice to meet you. So you were from Japan then? Cool. My master's degree I got from University of
Well, do you want to go downstairs and talk a little more, or? This is awesome. Yeah, I'm all the way up north. What is your name again? Vanessa. You did a great job. I stayed at this hotel before I lived in Austin. Yeah. I was like, hey, where is this? Parking here. I parked like 30 miles an hour. It's been a while since this. So the parking validation doesn't.
money until the third season. So like everything relies on the third season. It really does. So to not give them even like one more season, because like didn't Sabrina end after the third season? Sabrina, right? Like most shows end after the third season if they're not generating money. And which is like fair enough. It's not fair enough, trust me, I very much disagree with it, but in the sense of I don't know, I guess when it comes to like Netflix and like the high studios, it's like, okay, we've been giving you guys a lot of money for 3 years now, like we expect to see some return. So to not even get a second season is kind of crazy. It must have had really low ratings then. Like significantly low ratings. Or Netflix just sucks, which that could very much be the point as well. I didn't know anyone there, but I feel like that shouldn't. Where did it derive from? Was it a? It was a comic book, right? It's the same universe. Were they connecting? In there, isn't Netflix has Sandman too, right? But like you watched it, they never connected anything to Sandman? They never made any like gotcha. Got it. I mean, that kind of makes sense, but it's also kind of confusing too. Who? Oh, wait. Kaylee Kyoku. Why is that such a... Why does that mean... Oh my god. Oh, her sister's in it? How old is her sister? It's gotta be her younger. If it was older, that'd be crazy. She was 35? She's still pretty, she's kind of still pretty old though. For that show, isn't that like a teenager show? Is she a love interest? Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't know she was, you didn't explain any of that. You didn't give me any details. What? Okay, yeah, but you said Kaylee's sister, so I was like, wait, her younger sister or? I mean, that was that was what I got from it, but also I wasn't sure. Definitely wasn't sure. Kaylee's sister. This. Oh wait, give me 2 seconds. I have to call you back.